Hello, this is Adrian Shepard with Springtime of Nations. I'm recording this on the 28th of May. A few hours ago, Angela McArdle of the Libertarian Mises Caucus got elected as chair of the LNC, the Libertarian National Convention, and other Mises Caucus allies are set to follow her for vice chair and party secretary. What does this mean for libertarianism? What does it mean for the Libertarian Party? To a certain extent, we're not sure. The Mises Caucus is identified with the right wing of libertarianism. Many critics have called it the far right of libertarianism. I do not believe that the vast majority of Mises Caucus members, and especially officials, are actually, quote, far right in the sense of far right nationalists, or any right wing in a sense that would be contrary to libertarian principles. I'm still not fully convinced that, one, the Mises Caucus strategy, which is to be radical in their adherence to Misesian and Rothbardian principles, or, for example, their conduct on social media and inter-party politics. For example, the fallout of the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire constitutional crisis, I think, was handled poorly by the Mises Caucus. I would say Angela McArdle is not my first choice for someone I think would be the best representative of libertarianism in the United States. Not to say that she's very bad, but sometimes she makes questionable choices on social media, especially, and that's largely where my experience of her comes from. Because there's a large section of people who identify as Hoppians in the Mises Caucus, maybe it's a good idea just to mention that I am pro-open borders. This channel is pro-open borders. We have a video, Hoppa's Worst Idea, about it. I respect Hoppa as a thinker and a contributor to the Austro-libertarian tradition. That doesn't mean I'm a, quote, bordertarian, as unfortunately a lot of the Mises Caucus members are. That said, borders is a complicated question, and it's fine to have differing positions on it in the party. And that sort of brings me to the main point of this little video I'm putting out, and to a good Springtime of Nations contribution to the, quote, discourse about the LNC. Because we're going to talk about Libertarian Leninism, and we're going to talk about Libertarian Unity. Now, our first major video on this channel was analyzing the 1977 Towards a Libertarian Strategy essay by Rothbard, in which he favorably discusses the strategy, the electoral and broadly political strategy of Vladimir Lenin and his leadership of the Bolshevik Party before and during the Russian Civil War. The big takeaways from this video, I think, are strategic flexibility and being able to create alliances without being taken for suckers. The thing I've seen that's lacking from the Mises Caucus is a lack of long-term strategy. I think it's perfectly fine to explore what really the radical caucus of the Libertarian Party has been trying to do for over 50 years. The belief that libertarianism's radicalism is attractive in itself, and that if you fully commit to it, people will come and join the movement. Now, the Mises Caucus generally points to the Ron Paul movement as an example of someone who can sell real radical libertarianism. I think insofar as they can do anything close to what Ron Paul did in the 2008 and 2012 presidential election, that this will be a good turn for the Libertarian Party. The Pragmatist Caucus, which has controls over much of the actual party organ, or at least they did before the 2022 National Convention, their strategy is just to be electorally palatable to centrist voters, or maybe just protest voters. And this is why people like Bob Barr and Gary Johnson were nominated, because they were recognizable, sort of moderate Republicans. These people also supported Bill Weld. In my opinion, a very bad strategy. But the fact that the pragmatist strategy has not actually been very successful does not necessarily mean that the Mises Caucus is going to be wildly successful electorally or in terms of increasing membership. In that sense, I think the only immediate benefit of the Mises Caucus is that it threw the bums out. People we didn't like in the party are now no longer in the party. If these new people are bad, we can get rid of them. But for now, Angela McArdle being the new chair is a good thing. The major downside I see to the Mises Caucus taking over the party is that it will turn off a lot of left libertarians, who are usually just as radical in their libertarianism, and Springtime of Nations, of course, welcomes the contributions of left-wing market anarchists. They're an important part of our tradition, and they would be an important part of any real, living libertarian movement. Not the least because left libertarians are the best at converting left-wing statists to libertarianism, just as right libertarians are best at converting right-wing statists to libertarianism. And keeping this two-pronged approach, I think, is ideal. Now, I understand that it's hard for a right libertarian movement taking control over a libertarian party not to spook left libertarians. But I think the Mises Caucus leadership should maintain an open-door policy of working with radical left-wing elements within the Libertarian Party. The Audacious Caucus is generally seen as more left libertarian tinged, and that would be a good thing. Centrist libertarians, and by that I mean moderate, not geo-libertarians, should be allowed to be in the party. But I think the fact that a lot of moderates are getting very upset and leaving the party may be a blessing in disguise. And that's not because I want a right-wing takeover of the party. I'm a right libertarian. Springtime of Nations is largely right-aligned. But it's the Libertarian Party. It's not the right Libertarian Party. Left libertarians have their part to play. I would hate for them to leave. Moderate libertarians can play a part, but they should never be the main players, as they have been for the past decade or two. And if they would rather leave the party than let radical, either right or left libertarians take control of it, then you know what? Good riddance. I wanted this to be a quick video, so I'll end it there. Best wishes to Angela McArdle. Best wishes to the LP Mises Caucus. And best wishes to the Libertarian Party going forward. May 1,000 flowers bloom.